Hey everybody, John Greenwald here with theblackvault.com. I got some documents dropped in my email box today from the Department of Defense, Office of the Inspector General. Now, I wanted to use those as an excuse to do a quick video breakdown for you guys, because although it's not huge breaking news, it does offer yet another piece of the puzzle to something that I've been pursuing now well over a year. And for those who remember, let me pull up a tweet thread that I posted today. For those who remember, on May 3rd, 2021, so over a year ago, the Department of Defense Office of the Inspector General sent out this memorandum that announced an evaluation. That's different than an investigation, an evaluation of the DoD's actions regarding the unidentified aerial phenomena. Then it gives this project number here. Now, this was really, I would say, important for many reasons. The main one being, what were they looking into? What were they evaluating? And there was a lot of speculation that kind of spread like wildfire. Is this because Luis Elizondo was mistreated? That's the guy who says that he ran the UFO research program within the Pentagon called ATIP. Now, before you write me hate mail, I know I just said he says it, but that's what it is, because it is a war of words. Essentially, you have Luis Elizondo making a claim over here, and the Department of Defense over here saying no, that you had no assigned responsibilities on the ATIP program. From an official standpoint, that has not been rectified yet. So I'm just giving you the facts. At this point, I don't even care what my opinion is, nor do I care to give it to you, simply because it's irrelevant at this point. But I will say the reason why it still intrigues me, no matter who is right or wrong, telling the truth, half-truths, whatever, is why this came up in the first place. Because you have a Department of Defense now that is openly talking about UAP, openly talking about investigating them, openly talking about a task force, which is now turned into a more permanent office called AIMSOG, AOI-MSG. You've got all sorts of stuff. And yet they maintain, at least as the recording of this video, the position on Luis Elizondo and ATIP. It's a mess. It really, truly is. So I've dug in on this evaluation to try and make sense of what in the world they are actually looking into. And like I said, there was a lot of speculation, a lot of rumors that went around social media, none of which were substantiated. I still can't give you a full answer on what the evaluation is that we're looking at, but I can tell you that there is a big difference between this evaluation and what people have largely connected this to Luis Elizondo's Inspector General complaint that he filed last year. Many people have put those together, and I believe that the biggest reveal out of what I'm about to show you is actually showing that they are two different things. One of which is the evaluation, which I'm showing you on screen. The other of which was a complaint submitted, but there is no official confirmation that they're doing anything with Luis Elizondo's complaint. I'll be honest with you. I hope they do or did or are doing something, an investigation, anything. Simply because we need to get to the bottom of what the root of that battle, that war of the words, really is. And I don't really have an answer for you on that, on why that exists. But hopefully these evaluations will tell us. But again, there's a separation there. I'll get to that document in a second. But this was just a reminder here, the May 3rd, 2021 announcement, the memo that went out from the DoD IG. I want you to put a pin in this because this will become important in a few minutes. It was signed by Randolph Stone. He was the Assistant Inspector General for Evaluations, Space Intelligence, Engineering, and Oversight. So he was the guy that put this memorandum out, signed it, and that's what we all knew last year. Now, here is a screenshot of just one of the documents that we're going to go over, but I tweeted this out today because I felt it was important. It is the most important, in my book, revelation from this, which differentiates between the UAP evaluation and the complaint that Luis Elizondo submitted. It was dated August 29th, 2021. There was some banter back and forth about Luis Elizondo meeting with Randolph Stone's team. You can see up here, this email is from Randolph Stone. Hi, Lou. Good to hear from you. And then a blacked out line. As I mentioned earlier, my folks can't help you with the administrative complaint, but the evaluation into the UAP is progressing. Best to you and your family, Randy. So why that's important, short, sweet, and maybe kind of dry to some of you, this is important because it clearly differentiates between Mr. Elizondo's administrative complaint that was filed against, we know now, Susan Goff, Gary Reed, and Neil Tipton. I may do a video on that. I've kind of procrastinated on it because I'll be honest with you, it would be a deep dive video, and I'm not sure if you guys would be interested. If you are, let me know. We'll go through it all line by line. Put some comments below here on YouTube and let me know if you'd want to see it, because sometimes I feel like this is a little bit dry, and if I go over that stuff line by line with you and maybe point out some discrepancies, those of you who have remained skeptical about Mr. Elizondo's story will remain skeptical about his story. Those of you that support his story, feel that he's telling the truth, will continue to support him and feel that he's telling you the truth. And those that are in the middle will likely stay in the middle. So I don't know if it moves the needle anywhere. The one thing that I will add, and then I'll get back to the point of this video about it, is some of the reaction from the biggest supporters of Mr. Elizondo, in my view, is, I don't want to say humorous in a demeaning way, but humorous in the sense that Mr. Elizondo submitted this complaint, gave a lot of details. And for those of you who don't know, it actually was published in redacted form by the New York Post. I'll put the link below so you guys can take a look at that. But the New York Post published a redacted version. And the reaction that I kind of got a kick out of was his biggest supporter says, aha, this is vindication. He is vindicated. He's been telling the truth the whole time. And what I don't understand is how someone can validate or vindicate themselves. All he did was write everything down that we've heard a lot of and a lot about in the last couple of years that has played into, yet again, that war of the words. And all of a sudden, everybody was like, aha, see, he's vindicated. But it's just simply the words of Mr. Elizondo himself. I liken it to this. It's like a scientist creating a paper, a scientific paper, and peer reviewing himself. And that peer review says, aha, see, I was right all along. And then everybody around goes, aha, see, that scientist was telling the truth. He's vindicated. It's peer reviewed and stamped. No, you can't peer review your own scientific journal. So not to go off on a little weird tangent there, I just get a kick out of that because even though he wrote it down, doesn't automatically make it true. So I think that there's a lot of things that we can pick apart in that. So again, back to this video, but let me know if you want me to go into a deep dive on his IG complaint. I'll pull up with the New York Post. We'll go over it page by page. So back to this in this email, it does differentiate between that complaint and the evaluation. Two separate things. I have yet to get that official confirmation that his complaint turned into anything. Not to repeat myself, I really do hope that it does. One interesting thing, though, I will point out about that complaint, and we'll go over it if you guys do decide you want me to do a video of it. But no matter what, I want to point this out. Everything was submitted to the DoD IG and printed when they put the attachments together, meaning Mr. Elizondo, his attorney, or both, on the exact same day. Now, I didn't see a lot of banter about this, but every page that was printed out had that timestamp. If you look close enough, it always timestamps when you print things. They were all the same exact date, 5/3. Now, why is that? I really don't know, but it coincides with the date that the IG submitted this letter. Now, I know what some of you might be saying. Elizondo submitted the complaint. IG got it, went, aha, we got to evaluate this thing, published the letter the same day. I can tell you that nothing ever happens that fast. So the likelihood of that is probably nil. However, of course, some will probably still say that regardless, but it was more than 60 pages in his complaint. So there's no way that he printed everything out, compiled everything, meaning Mr. Elizondo or his lawyer or both, compiled everything, got it over to the IG. The IG gets a 64-page document. They look at it, read through it, go, aha, we need to evaluate it. Quick, Randy Stone, you go ahead and draft a memo. He drafts the memo. It's approved. Then they publish it to the website the same day. It's just not going to happen. So clearly two different entities. And yes, that is important from an investigative standpoint, simply because now we know we have one evaluation confirmed and the other, when it comes to the administrative complaint, we're not so sure yet. And that's what we are still working on. So let me go ahead then and share the documents so we can go over these real quick. Bear with me here. It just takes a second. Here we are. I get letters a lot that I'm showing my private address. Don't worry. This is a public address. I don't mind this out in the open simply because there's really nothing there. It's a public address that I use for safety reasons. It is not my residence. So there you go. So don't worry about that. Now, the FOIA request, let me go ahead and just read off to you some of the people. I don't have a screen to show you, but I'm just going to read what I requested. I did submit it, let me see here, in January of this year. So in January of this year, I requested a search of email boxes within the DoD IG of 8 different personnel. It included, and I'll go through them quickly, the acting principal deputy inspector general and chief of staff, the acting deputy inspector general for investigations, the Deputy Inspector General oversees contingency operations, Deputy Inspector General administrative investigations, Deputy Inspector General for evaluations, Acting Deputy Inspector General for audit, General Counsel to the Inspector General, and the Director of the DoD Hotline. Now, why all those people? Those were the ones that I dug up. I felt that there may be some type of connection between this and Elizondo's complaint. So those were all the people that I requested a search of for the one single keyword, Elizondo. The idea there was to get anything that was in reference to his complaint, an investigation, evaluation, confirmation of anything. Now back to the documents that I got. To my surprise, of all those people that I listed, and this was approaching a year to the submission of the complaint, there were only 32 pages that were released, none of which that I saw were entirely withheld. So in essence, they're saying out of the search of all of those people's mailboxes, the word Elizondo only came up to spark 32 pages. We'll go over them quickly. So that is the FOIA response letter. For those of you taking notes, if you want the proof, there's the case number that I'll show you on screen there. Here was an email, so I'm just going to go through some of these. Some will be very, very quick because they're newspaper articles. But remember I told you to put a pin in Randolph Stone. This was from him. And in February of 2021, so what's interesting about this is this was before the announcement of the UAP evaluation and before Elizondo's complaint was submitted. For whatever reason, he created this email chain to all these different people that are redacted, except Michael Roark, which let me just double check. He was one of the people that I requested, Deputy Inspector General for evaluations. See attached, I found this in my Apple News on my iPad, so I took a photo. Bunch of redacted lines here. Randolph Stone. For whatever reason, in February of last year, he felt the need to get and disseminate Luis Elizondo's resignation letter. My guess, just a guess, beep, 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 just guessing, is that they were ramping up to evaluate the DoD's action regarding UAP. There was a lot of talk about Luis Elizondo, maybe the story behind that War of the Words, or just his involvement in the ATIP program and his knowledge about it, that they felt that he would be someone they needed to speak with during this evaluation. Put a pin in that now, because as we go through these documents, the chronology will make a little bit more sense. In May of 2021, May 3rd, okay, so that's the day they announced. Good morning, gentlemen. This was from somebody redacted, but they were from the Office of Legislative Affairs and Communications in the DoDIG's office. Good morning, gentlemen. Per our conversation at the OLAC Weekly, please see the below article link and excerpts from the New Yorker coverage on UAPs. And going below here, there's that Michael Roark name. That was one that I requested the mailbox of. Randy Stone. And I won't keep going over the names, but you can see how these FOIAs generate these types of responsive records. We won't read this, but how the Pentagon started taking UFOs seriously. This was the New Yorker article. Good afternoon, gentlemen. I hope you're enjoying your weekend. Please see the below article, and then they forward that article. We don't need to read it, so we'll just scroll through. You get this a lot in FOIA requests, that your keywords will come up with newspaper articles. For my FOIA people out there, here's a quick tip for you. You can omit the newspaper articles. It will do two things for you. It'll speed up the request because they don't have to review it. But on top of that, it could reduce costs if you are getting into paying per page. Obviously, I just scrolled through a couple pages there. If this accumulated fees, you wouldn't have to pay for those. So the larger request, that would be definitely more beneficial to do. So you can omit newspaper articles. 17 May 2021, UFOs regularly spotted in restricted U.S. airspace. Report on the phenomena due next month. So this was obviously approaching the UAP report that Congress had put out. Good morning, ma'am. According to the article, the DoD stood up a task force some time ago. Not sure who was given the responsibility of reporting. It seems like their report is well underway and will certainly be done and reported to Congress before our work is completed. So obviously that was in reference to their evaluation, butted up against the UAP report that we know in Congress. There is another transcript from 60 Minutes. So you can see it forwarded a message here, and that's the transcript for 60 Minutes. We won't go all over that, but the fact that Luis Elizondo was in it, that sparked the keyword coming up, and then that's a responsive record. So they are internally forwarding all these transcripts around. All right. Some of these get a little bit confusing because chronologically you're going a little bit backwards in the email chain. I just want to show you guys a little bit about how this works. Ex-official who revealed UFO project accuses Pentagon of disinformation campaign, 27 May 2021. Randolph Stone, that's the guy who signed the memo. Enjoy. He sent it to Marguerite Garrison and a redacted, no, that would be her email, sorry. So Marguerite Garrison. A little bit of personal banter here back and forth, talking about them being busy. There was a vacation. Keep me in the loop. When you get back from vacation, let's catch up. So again, you get a lot of that. You can just kind of skip over, but I want to show you guys how these work. A lot of B5 redactions here. I'm going to appeal this. B5 redactions are kind of hard to appeal simply because you don't really know the real reason other than they consider them part of the deliberative process. So we're not really sure what they're saying. What are they deliberating here? What is that internal chatter? Essentially, the FOIA people, we call this the redacted if you want to exemption. So in other words, there's really kind of no true definition to exemption B5 other than, again, that internal deliberation. So there are certain things that, yes, are definitely attributable to B5 and redacted and you can't appeal it. To me, these are excessive. So I think they're talking about Luis Elizondo and what they can potentially do, because this ex-official who revealed UFO project accuses Pentagon of disinformation. I believe this was the Politico article. Yeah, Politico article by Brian Bender. So they're probably internally deliberating what they're going to do. Sure, I might buy that, but I'm going to appeal it nonetheless because I think that we should see what they're talking about. We don't need to read the article. We'll go through this. But you can see internally, again, they are forwarding these back and forth. Now, here's the banter between Luis Elizondo himself. Again, this was the most important piece of the puzzle. Subject line, UAP interview and OIG contact information. Now we're in the 3 June 2021 time frame. This was from a redacted person. We're not sure who this was. It was internal. Luis Elizondo was not included. Michael Roark again. Randy Stone. He's the one that signed that memo. Few more people CC'd that we don't know who they are. All redacted. Here, B5. We don't know what they're talking about. The forwarded email, however, was from Luis Elizondo. It reads, "Greetings, sir. Looks like I have the logistics arranged. Which day works better for you? What time is best? My attorney and I will accommodate your schedule. Best regards, Lou." This is in the June 2nd, 2021 timeframe. So they are trying to set a meeting that they're meeting with Luis Elizondo, meaning the Office of the Inspector General. Now, you might think that it's about his complaint, but stay tuned for that. Sir, not a problem. I think this was a mistake. This was from somebody within DoD, and they were writing it to Luis Elizondo, and it said, "Sir, not a problem. We can't be flexible. Don't rush out on our account. This project will take some time." So I'm not sure who that was. They redacted it, but that was to Luis Elizondo. Going backwards here in the chain, just to make it make a little bit more sense and unfold the story. May 25. "Sir, I'm currently looking at my calendar." Here's a redacted couple lines. Maybe some personal information about his scheduling. May or may not be attributable to B6, but regardless, maybe there's some privacy issues there that they decided to black out. Generally, you don't see that from people on the outside of the government. You'll see that with email addresses and addresses, personal identifying information. Generally not scheduling, but that, again, it's not unheard of. "Doing my best to accommodate. Please stand by. Best, Lou." Again, that was May. Same day before Lou wrote that, DoD IG had checked in with him. They were looking to meet with him on the 15th or the 17th. That would be of June. So this was just all banter of trying to schedule him. This was the beginning of it, May 14th. So obviously, I believe this was Randolph Stone. I believe that this was Randolph Stone, but they decided to block it out. Reason is space missile and nuclear evaluations. Actually, I take that back. I don't believe that that was Randolph Stone. So this is yet another person we're not really sure. Somebody called Mr. Elizondo. Here's what they told him on May 14th. "Thanks for taking my call. As we discussed, the UAP evaluation team would like to interview you early in the course of the evaluation. It sounds like the week of June 14th may work the best for you if we are to do the interview in person. Let me know your preference for a date when you can. We look forward to hearing your insight on the topic." So forgive what I said about Randolph Stone. That is not him. But regardless, this is around the time frame that they reached out to him. And clearly, they wanted to interview him about the UAP evaluation, not his complaint. Some of you who frequent his all of his podcasts and stuff, I know that he was talking about being interviewed by the Office of the Inspector General. Maybe you can help me out, dig up where those interviews are. Obviously, Elizondo has done thousands of these things, and I don't pretend to have watched all of them. So if any of you know where he talked about being interviewed, it'd be interesting to match up what context he said he was being interviewed in, either for the evaluation or if he tried to say it was for the complaint, because we've already established Randolph Stone saying, "Hey, my folks aren't going to help you with that administrative complaint." So here's some more emails. This is jumping to the August time frame. Yet again, here's Randolph Stone again. Multiple lines, B5, all redacted. So we have no idea. We don't know who this is from. Actually. And forgive me, because I just got these, so I'm kind of going through them a little bit freshly myself. So for whatever reason, they redacted what appears to be Luis Elizondo's name here, but it is from him. "Sir, apologies for not seeing you this month, but blacked out. I will try sometime in late September to meet again with your investigators or auditors at a time of their convenience. In the meantime, I thought you might find the below link interesting. As a result of a recent FOIA request, it appears that Pentagon Public Affairs Office is still publicly stating, quote, I had no assigned responsibilities for ATIP during my time at OUSDI. Clearly, they still do not acknowledge my role, and addressing the public in this manner is disingenuous because it appears that I had no responsibilities at all. Hopefully, during your efforts, you have a much more clear picture by now. Then a few redacted lines under B6. Again, those are privacy reasons. I'm not really sure what could fit in there because the next line, I was given a job to do by the Pentagon, and now they pretend I didn't do the job I was asked to do. It is a feeling of betrayal by certain individuals I can't begin to explain. Thank you for your efforts, Luis Lou Elizondo. You can see here, it looks like my FOIAs are helping Lou out because he is referencing my site, my document that I got for those. There's a video on this channel about those briefing cards that the Pentagon were using, and it was a reference to that no assigned responsibilities on the ATIP program. So kind of fun to see myself wind up in these communications, but that means at least the FOIA is producing material that is beneficial. Although he doesn't like it, he's using that as evidence to the IG. So, hey, if it can help him, Godspeed. Trying to see if these are some repeated emails. And honestly, I think that's probably the majority of it because I know that there's some repeats here. And I know these videos become a little bit long. But the reason is I like to show you guys how FOIA requests work and kind of going through them a little bit fresh, how it's confusing sometimes. You know, I mean, ideally, I would edit out my stumble on Randolph Stone, but then I realized it was wrong. But I want to leave it in there to show you it's confusing work. You go through this and you read it, and sometimes like the blackout of Luis Elizondo's name, why would they black it out on his address line but not in his email signature? It's really like a kind of bizarre the way that they do that, but also adds to a lot of the confusion. So I will link these documents below. There's some more. This was an announcement that kind of circulated, let me see here, in November of 2021 from Randolph Stone. We don't know what this B5 redaction is, but he was forwarding around a International UFO Congress advertisement. And the reason why I came up in this request was Luis Elizondo, there's the keyword, was going to be speaking. Why internally they felt to disseminate that, you know, your guess is as good as mine, but here was the email forwarded to you. More newspaper articles. I wanted to make sure that I didn't miss anything for you guys. No, I think that's it. One thing, though, I always want you guys to look at. And I'm looking at this again. I missed this the first time. So that's why I like doing these videos. Hey, you guys are learning with me here. But this is what you want to look out for. Is October 2021 time frame. Randolph Stone sent this email to Michael Roark with 2 attachments. An MFR on Elizondo, 21 December 2017. Off the top of my head, I'm drawing a blank of what MFR would be. I'll look it up after. That was an attachment, a PDF attachment. 1 December 2010 memo. Don't know what that would be, but they're not in the release. It doesn't look like they're in the release here. This goes on to something else in December, and I do not see... Oh, that's a newspaper article. So we're learning together. See that? That's why I love doing these videos. But I always like doing these to show you guys how it all works, what you look out for, and why I pointed out those attachments is you always want to make sure that in your FOIA requests, stipulate you want the attachments also, even though they should include them as responsive to your request. They did not here. So what I'll do is likely appeal it, or what I will do is file a new request for them. I'll figure that out after I post this video. But regardless, that is the release. I'm glad I got to go over it with you guys. As you can see, it's very, well, educational for myself as well. So please put your comments below. Going back to my thing about the IG complaint, if you want a video on that, I'm happy to do it. It just will be lengthy, just because I talk a lot. So that's who I am. That's why you guys watch this channel, is to hear me blab. No, joking aside, I do try and keep it short here. So that said, comments below, even on this material. What do you think? Did I miss anything else? Please download those documents. It's all in the notes and description below. And this is John Greenwald Jr. signing off. Until next time, we'll see you then.